Hello, my name is Jason Lemke, and this is my country presentation of Estonia for Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and Dr. Douglas Rummel's Humanities 210 course. So let's begin. When someone says the phrase, circle of life, do you instinctively start singing this song from the movie The Lion King in your head? You would be in good company if you did. However, according to author Pinet Uunupuu, 2012, the ancient Estonians' worldview was based upon the circle, signified by life-altering events. These events were usually birth, gaining adulthood, marriage, and death. Unlike a circle that has no beginning nor end, this presentation will lay out a linear discussion on the country of Estonia. First, we will discuss Estonia's geography, where it lies in the world along with any notable features of its landmass. Then we will show how cuisine and foodways relate to Estonian culture by describing common national dishes and influence on Estonian cuisine. We'll follow that by a discussion of the language and dialects that are used in the country of Estonia, as well as any regional influences or dialects. From there, we will show the religions that can be found within Estonia, ranging from pre-Christian times to modern times. Then, we will delve into the topic of Estonian history and how they have undergone radical changes in leadership in the past few hundred years. Finally, we will end our Estonia presentation with a talk about the somewhat recent induction of Estonia into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the World Trade Organization, and the European Union. Now, to kick it all off, let's talk about Estonia's geography. Estonia, as evidenced by the map of Estonia, no date, shows that they have a large coastal presence, with many islands and surrounded by the countries of Finland, Russia, Latvia, and all that can't be seen, Sweden. According to Missionis and Strango 2020, the topography of Estonia was mainly created by ancient glacial activity which created rolling hills and low-lying sandy areas, as well as many rivers and lakes. The climate is somewhat temperate and humid, although the winter may be long and cold, is nowhere near as cold as neighboring regions. Even though these conditions may be very waterlogging, Missionis and Strenga assert that this makes the region extremely suited towards agriculture. This is actually the perfect segue into our next subject, cuisines and foodways. The typical food for an Estonian is actually quite simple. Their food is not flashy or fancy, but more suited to reflect their method of obtaining it. According to the World Trade Press, no date, fishing, farming, and foraging are the main traditional methods of obtaining their food. This also means that Estonians eat with the seasons. This adds much variety to their diet. Their dishes are heavily influenced by the countries of Russia and Germany, while their cooking styles are influenced by Lithuania, Latvia, and Finnish techniques, according to the World Trade Press. The reason for this will be readily evident in the following sections. Since winter in Estonia is long and the World Trade Press asserts that preserved food is key. Pickled vegetables, sauerkraut, smoked fish and meat are all very important to the wintertime diet of an Estonian. There are some traditional meals that have stood the test of time in Estonia. Firstly is the food of Kama, described by Castellet, Leitner, and Palme 2010 as being a milled powder mixture of roasted barley, rye, wheat, and pea flour. Then this is mixed with sour milk and sweetened with sugar. This can be seen by the Figure 6 Kama dessert by Tumas 2019. Then the World Trade Press discusses piparkuk, or pepper cake. This is traditionally cookies made with pepper, cinnamon, grated orange, and ginger. According to the World Trade Press then, Vana Tallinn, an extremely popular rum-based liquor, is flavored with various spices such as citrus, cinnamon, and vanilla, and used as a shot or added to coffee or mulled wine. And finally, Sutsukala on Rukalib, as evidenced by Figure 5 by Markuson 2020, is essentially smoked fish as herring or salmon atop a buttered piece of black rye bread. But how do Estonians communicate about what to use in their food? Language. Annika Kilgi, 2012, has done much language research in Estonia. In the year 2000, there were 109 languages spoken in Estonia, with the majority being Estonian at 67.3%. Russian came in second at 29.7%, and the rest are various dialects of Ukrainian, Belarusian, Finnish, Latvian, and Lithuanian. Annika Kilgi further does go on to say that 3/4 of the Estonian population speak a second or even third language. Funny enough, she says that many foreigners visiting Estonia, hoping to gain practice at the Estonian language, are chagrined to experience many Estonians prefer to converse in the foreigner's native tongue. This is due to a sense of national pride that Estonians has as to how they can communicate not only in their own language, but to show the world that they too can communicate globally. Another side effect of this is Estonian scientists, fearing not having research published globally due to language barriers, submit their research in English, which leaves their fellow countrymen in the dark when it comes to their knowledge. Kilgi also states that there are officially 8 dialects and 117 subdialects, with many Russian-leaning ones naturally being on the northeast border with Russia. Although it is hard to define borders to these dialects, Kilgi states that the most accepted demarcation is the north-south border, essentially cutting the country in half. Although there are many dialects, they're fading due to technology, which is aligning all the dialects into one main one, as people see and hear Estonian television and radio, which leads them to adopt similar speaking styles. A neat fact that Kilgi speaks about is a specific Estonian sign language. This is listed in Ethnologue database as well as having the international code of ESO. Unfortunately, it is not internationally recognized, so it does not have the same privileges as more common sign language. So how does this culture utilize this language to connect spiritually? Many Estonians do not belong to any formal religious organization, according to author Ringo Ringvi 2012. However, some of the more popular religions are Christian-based, with the most popular being the Evangelical Lutheran Church. He does state that there are sects of Islam, Judaism, Orthodoxy of the Setus, Russian Old Believers, and other earth religions. However, in pre-Christian times, paganism and these other earth religions were prevalent in Estonia. According to Mavala Koda, they were extremely important to the everyday ceremonies, with main ones being midsummer, winter solstice, and weddings, where the bride and groom traditionally threw rings in the fountains. This area of interest in old earth religions has led to the archaeological study of holy groves and their importance to ancient Estonian religion, and backs up how important these earth religions were to Estonian life. According to author Tona Jonaks of 2007, holy groves were among the most important sites for Estonian religion. He describes how these sites were places of sacrifice, ceremony, as well as grave sites. These holy groves were scattered throughout the country, in forests, fields, hills, and marshes, and were a large part of everyday Estonian life. I believe that much of Estonia's culture has been largely influenced by its history. Estonia has had a long past of being the object of conquest. According to authors Mesunius and Strenga 2020, control of Estonia has shifted a number of times, first being conquered by Germany, Sweden, and Russia. They had a small time of independence before being inducted into the Soviet Union. Finally, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, they obtained freedom and autonomy once again. This history of conquest has led to many effects on the culture and daily life of Estonians. As I've shown previously, it has effects in the cooking and types of meals that they eat. It has affected the languages and dialects they speak, and shows why many of Estonians are secular, owing to the fact that many times their country has been conquered by mainly Christian countries. Modernly, it also explains what Mesunius and Strangla describe as a national identity crisis. This has led to a more westward shift in foreign policy, and once Estonia gained independence from the Soviet Union. Due to this westward shift, in 1999, Estonia joined the World Trade Organization, with membership to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and European Union being finalized in 2004, and that was described by Mesunius and Stranga 2020. This will show how Estonia conducts itself on the world stage by further working along with Western countries in cooperation. Estonia has shown this by performing NATO duties alongside members of other nations in the International Stabilization and Assistance Force in Afghanistan. To conclude, during this presentation, we started our Estonia discussion by showing where the country itself sat upon the world map, along with key features of its landmass and many islands. We then shifted to talk about the cuisine, food, and influences this all had upon Estonian culture. Then we discussed the languages and dialects that are spoken in Estonia and the influence that its neighbors have upon the many other languages spoken here. Afterwards, we discussed the religions that have been practiced from the Bronze Age times up to the present and the effects that it has had on Estonian culture. And finally, we then delved into a quick history of Estonia, often the target of conquest by foreign powers. We showed the history and shifts of power that led us to modern times where we spoke of Estonia's westward shift in policy, where they have joined NATO, the WTO, and the EU. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation on the country Estonia and are spurred to dive deeper into these subjects. And now the following 2 pages are references. Thank you and have a great day.